I'm Mary, and I am the coordinator of this garden here, the York Garden. Just in case anybody else is interested in learning more or being a part of the gardens, plural, I already have Terry and Kathy. If anybody else is interested, I have a reason. I just have a thing for you to sign before you leave. Okay, we're here to actually learn about pruning, and let me see through all my 10 layers of, okay. Time's pretty good here. The idea is, first of all, why would you prune? Then second, a few vocabulary words I have to make sure everybody knows. Then we go into what you came for. What are those pruning cuts? There's only two. To me, the most important thing is that you understand why a plant would respond differently to each of those cuts, because it will change the way you prune from here on out. And then a little deeper explanation as to how the plant is able to do that. And then also, when is the best time to prune? Then, and this is the most attentive student that I have right now. He's just glued to me. So I guess the last thing is I do have a couple of experienced master gardeners here with me, and we'll break up into 3 groups and make sure that you have a chance to go to specific areas of the garden and try it yourself with somebody standing there watching you, who knows what they're doing. So first topic, why would you prune? Because I'll give you the master gardener answer. You want to get light and air into the plant. It will prevent disease, much better for growth, all kinds of good reasons. However, that is not why the public wants to prune. Your neighbor is going to ask you, as soon as they hear you're a master gardener, oh, can you tell me about pruning this? And because, and I'll fill in the blank for you, it's gotten too big for the area that I have for it. How can I make it smaller, but still look good and bloom? And you know what, could you also make it so it won't keep growing and getting bigger so I have to prune it again? Well, keep in mind the way a plant has grown is in response to Mother Nature. So every time you decide to prune something, you think you can improve on Mother Nature. So just keep that in mind. Some things don't need any pruning, and some things, yes, you're going to prune them, but you cannot change the DNA of that plant. All right, next thing was a few words. Here we go. All right, look at your, this is very low tech here today. Okay, you should have some kind of branch or piece, or you're sharing or whatever. There are all kinds of different ones here. All right, I chose this one because there aren't any leaves on it. A terminal bud is any bud at the tip of any branch. There could be quite a few. Like this probably has one. Each one of these is a terminal bud. This probably has 15 or 20 terminal buds on it. All right. The buds along the side of a branch are lateral buds. The terminal bud, sometimes you'll hear it called apical, like the apex of of something is the top part of it, the end part of it. And sometimes lateral is called axillary. Like on us, axillary is your armpit. All right. So those are the 2 terms. Now go back to terminal bud. The terminal bud is where auxin, the 3rd word, which is the growth hormone of the plant, is made. It's not made in the trunk, on the branches. It's not even made in the roots, but it is what controls the growth of the plant. So even even the roots are relying on these terminal buds, which could be some of these white oak trees, it could be 100 feet away from it, from the roots. But that's what controls the growth throughout the plant. The other thing to remember is the terminal bud not only makes the auxin, the growth hormone, but that auxin will encourage the growth of that branch, encourage the growth at the terminal bud, while at the same time inhibit growth of the lateral buds beneath it on that branch. All right, I'll say that's probably the most important sentence of the whole morning. Well, from my talk, all right. Auxin is made in the terminal bud. That auxin will encourage growth of the terminal bud and simultaneously inhibit the growth of lateral buds beneath it on that branch. Okay? One of my first thoughts when I first learned that was, how? How could it do that? You know, like promote it and at the same time inhibit? Well, I'm going to remind you, I'll bring that plant sale out of something, and then I'll come back to it at the end, full circle, and see if you can figure out. All right? And even if you can't figure it out, just take my word for it that that statement is true. Okay. So here is a plant sale, and actually it's going to turn this way. There we go. Okay. Plant sale, biology 1, right? Okay. Cell wall. Don't worry about cell wall for this purpose. Right inside the cell wall of every cell of a plant cell is a cell membrane. That's where the action is. Lots of things floating around in the cell membrane. And we'll come back to that later. Of course, chloroplasts, that's DNA. Yes, plant cells have DNA, which uses the same code as our DNA uses. And also, I realize sometimes I drop my voice. If you can't be heard, I have a teacher voice if I need one. Please put your hand up. If you can't hear me, it's no point in your being here. So put your hand up if I need to raise my level of speaking. All right, so plant cell, cell membrane. You see all these funny little shaped things? Those are receptors on the cell membrane. We have the same things in us. We have growth hormone, we have DNA. Okay, so now that can go down. We'll come back to that though, okay? So, he's very good at this, all right. All right, so that is the vocabulary that you need to know. So part 3, the 2 cuts. The first cut is that we're going to refer to is called a heading back cut. All right, heading back. All right, so think about this. The head they're talking about is the terminal bud. That's the head of every branch. Back means you're cutting it back. You're cutting a terminal bud off of a branch. But it could be, if it's this branch, it could be anywhere along this branch would be a heading back cut. There are lateral buds along that branch too. I will warn you, a lot of times you can't see the lateral branch. The lateral bud. But they're there. There can be hundreds of them that you can't see. And sometimes they're so obvious, it's easy to see them. Often they're at the very base of a leaf. Some of you have that. At the very base of a leaf is one of those lateral buds. But there could be others that you can't see. Okay, we're with me. So now we're going to talk about the very first kind, which is the heading back cut. So look on your branches that you've got and see if you can find a lateral bud You're looking for a lateral bud on some branch. It doesn't make any difference. If you make this cut, what you would want to do is find a lateral bud. I see one on here. And remember, you might even be able to see it. You're going to go just above that lateral bud, about 1/4 of an inch. About 1/4 of an inch above it. And you're going to make a cut at a 45-degree angle so that it's sloping away from the bud. And I'm going to show you on the board up here. And, well, all right. So I've found a lateral bud. I went just above it, 1/4 inch. And now I'm going to make a snip that's at an angle, about a 45-degree angle. And it's best if you make it so that the cut is sloping away from the bud. Okay, let me show you up here. Well, I could probably use this one here and be all right. All right, let's forget about that one. Let's look at this one here, all right? If I chose that right there, that bud right there, my cut is going to be like that. All right, it's sloping away from the bud. It's only 1/4 of an inch above. All right, can you see this over here? Like, okay, if I were to choose that one here. Okay, if I chose that one, it's going to be like that. So, how does the plant respond to that? The way it responds is that the lateral bud that's just below the cut is going to be the one to break bud and grow next. All right, so this bud here is, of course, this is gone. This is going to break bud and grow. Whatever direction that bud is in, that's the direction the new growth is going to be. Maybe that direction is right out over your sidewalk. Why not go down just a little or up a little further and find a bud going in a different direction that you want? Like, we especially recommend ones that are not facing into the center of the plant. Pick something going out. And you could make your cut here, and we'll walk around with this, and the angle would be then like this. And maybe you can kind of hold it up high so they can see. Now you've encouraged growth, the new growth, to be in a different direction. Now you can't help the fact that it's still going to want to go toward the sun and things like that. But, all right, so the good thing about this cut heading back is you have a little bit of control over the direction of new growth. However, this kind of cut highly encourages new growth. So that means you better be ready a month later to be pruning again, because it's highly encouraging new growth, all kinds of new growth. That's not really what you wanted. Is there something you could do about it? Yes, there is, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to go back to what this heading back cut does. All right, let's say you've got a 30-foot hedge in your yard and you need to prune it. I'm telling you to go and take every branch and find that little thing just the right. And it would take you days, to do it. Most of the time, what people do is this. All right? And you go like this. And when you do that, you have cut off almost every terminal bud on that plant. You have thrown it into hormone chaos. all of a sudden it can't make any auxin. You've taken away its ability to do that. So the plant, at the risk of being anthropomorphic here, the plant is going to scramble to be able to make auxin again. So the very next bud down, the one nearest to that heading back cut, is going to be encouraged to grow, and it will grow, and it will become your new terminal bud, and it in turn will make auxin, inhibiting the lateral buds below it. If you do this quite a few times, like 3 times a year, take all those terminal buds off, the newest lateral bud, it becomes terminal, do it again, up, tag on it, grew it again, oh, do it again. Okay, what you end up with is growth in the outer 3 inches of the plant, 3 or 4 inches, with nothing down here. So this came from what was my own house, property, I have to say. You look into it, it's not dead, but there's no green in there. All the green is out here. And master gardeners call it the meatball look, you know, and it's very, very common. It's the easiest thing to do. Not necessarily the best for the plant, but it sure is a lot faster. Could we do something about it? Yes. Cut number 2, right? Cut number 2 would be, I'll go back to this one here. All right. If I cut anywhere along a branch, like even if it's just, oh, I don't even see, it's cut there, you know, I didn't do it the right way. Whatever the next lateral bud beneath it is going to break bud and grow. But what I could do is go all the way back to where that branch joins a main branch, and I could cut, leaving the branch collar, I'll tell you that in a minute, that one. The branch collar, sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. It looks like it's a thickened, like some rings right at the base, just where it joins another larger. So you see it on woody plants a lot more. You want to leave that branch collar. Yeah, right. You want to leave that. You don't want to be flush with the trunk. All right, that is cut number 2, and the name of that cut is a thinning cut. It's called thinning. All right, now, is everybody okay on? Yeah, you're going all the way back until it joins another main branch. All right, so the question is, what if I cut this right here, which is a thinning cut, right where it joins another branch? What have I done to the hormone levels of what's left? And silence is the correct answer. You haven't done anything to it. Because, yes, you cut off that branch is gone. And you say, but what about below it? Well, it's under the influence of whatever terminal bud is up here. So when you do a thinning cut, you are not encouraging any new growth. And you got the plant smaller. And you're able to get some light and air in to the plant. So we really encourage, I would put it this way, to be really honest when you are, especially working with the public. You know, they're just not going to take every day for a week to be able to cut their hedge back that's growing into their driveway. They're going to be doing some just random, you know, cut number 1, so to speak, because they just don't have the time. What I usually encourage them to do is, after you've done that, how about looking at doing some thinning cuts? Go back and what we call make windows into the plant. It's going to reduce the size of your plant, and it's not going to encourage any growth. Yes.
The other example, I have your other plant there.
Yeah.
How would you try to fix that to recover not just having green on the end and having sticks on the inside? What would you do to that?
To be really honest, this is, yeah, and the public will call these boxwoods all the time. They're not. It's a really cheap holly is what it is. They are extremely forgiving. And I've actually done this in this yard. All right, let's say it's, 5 feet tall and it's like this. I've cut it to a foot off the ground. It comes back. Now, you better be ready for it to be, just, buck ugly for the winter. it's gonna look awful. But in the spring, as it comes out, then I do some cuts, both thinning and heading back cuts as it grows over the next 2 or 3 years.
Because I heard only like a third of the thing.
I would say most plants, it's probably better for the plant not to take more than a third in 1 year. But you really, with this kind of plant that is extremely forgiving, extremely forgiving, you can. I don't think so.
It's okay. Just curious.
Heliary, holly, something like that. But you can't you can't do that with every plant, and also notice the kind of response you get. For example, crepe myrtles, when they get, pollard is the name, we say they get murdered, all right, and they get cut right in their trunk. That is still a heading back cut. And many, 15, 20 new lateral, buds that you couldn't see when you made the cut, but they're there and they will all come out. And I guarantee you they're all right below where the cut was made.
Yes.
They come out. So maybe a crepe myrtle, I would not do that to. But this kind, most hollies, you really could. You could. Okay, yes.
If you have like a whole 30 boxwoods all the way around that, we hedge twice a year.
Right.
You still go in and try to cut.
Thinning cuts, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if you're going to go ahead and just do a random, heading back cuts. Yes.
I always thought thinning a plant out meant that you were creating air.
You are.
And more oxygen.
Yes.
And less disease. But is that, and that's recommended when they get real full, correct?
Yes. And so, but what we're talking about,
What am I?
sorry, we're competing here with York County Fire and Rescue. What you're doing though is they're recommending some thinning cuts. And yes, a thinning cut. Well, I did a thinning cut. This was onto a bigger branch down here. Now, when you looked at that plant, what was right here is an open window into the plant. So yes, that is exactly what's recommended. All right, everybody with me so far? I'm looking at time, we're good. So you ready to try to get an answer to how is it that the plant can make the auxin, the growth hormone in the terminal bud, and have it promote that, but inhibit the lateral buds beneath it on that branch simultaneously? Ready to try? Yes.
The receptors are slightly different further down.
There is a difference in the receptors, yes. And let's see what we can find out about that, okay? All right. So, let's see. I think we're gonna go to let's go to that one and see what we can do, and then it will circle back to addressing that, okay? Her point. She said the receptors, there's something different about the receptors of the lateral buds compared to the receptors on the terminal buds, and that is true. All right, so, and we'll hold it up higher too and come around. All right, so everybody can see here. Let's go with the terminal bud first. The terminal bud is going to be blue. All right, here's your graph. This axis here is going to be auxin with a low amount of auxin here. Let's say that's 0 up to a 10 up here, okay? So it goes low to high auxin on this axis. This is growth and 0 growth, and this will be a 10, a lot of growth, okay? So we're really comparing the amount of auxin to the amount of growth that it encourages. And now we're going to compare how the terminal bud reacts to that compared to the lateral bud. And we're going to take the terminal bud first in blue. All right? So the terminal bud, if there's no auxin, the terminal bud ain't growing, okay? Nothing's growing, but we're talking terminal bud first. All right. So as the auxin level increases, the growth is also going to increase, right? It's going, and I'll draw this in a second so you can compare, right? As the auxin level increases, the growth will increase, and it's going to increase and increase, and it's going to reach a peak. I'm going to say maybe that's at about a 7 or so, okay? So I'll draw that one in. And this is real freehand, so you're going to have to put up with this. You can tell I had to really make do with this. Okay, so when you get to about a 7, that's the peak. Beyond a 7, you can almost think of it like fertilizer. It actually hurts the growth. Like, you put a little fertilizer on and it helps a little. Oh, I should put more on. You put more on and oh man, this is great. It's growing like I'll just put the whole bag on. And you put it on and the plant keels over, right? Okay, well, it's a little bit like that with auxin. All right, when you get past a level 7, say, the growth begins to go down. I'm talking terminal bud growth here, okay? So it goes down pretty rapidly to where it actually ends up inhibiting growth. And we'll say that's about a 7, okay? Everybody with me so far? All right. Now we're going to go to lateral bud. How are your arms doing there, Tim? Pretty good? Okay, because I'm sure I can get another person to hold it if we need to. Okay, lateral bud is in red. All right, so lateral buds, all right, they're in red. If there's no auxin, the lateral buds ain't growing either. So they're going to start at 0. All right, and as the level of auxin goes up, the growth will also go up to about, is that a 4 maybe? I'm just, the exact number isn't important. Say that's a 4, okay? And again, if you give it too much, it starts to actually inhibit the growth. So you get a little more and it starts going down like this. And then you get to here. All right, I'm trying to make this thicker so you can see it. There we go. Okay. So let's look at this now. Right here is what the terminal bud keeps the level at 99% of the time. You come along and lop that terminal bud off. Oh, can't make auxin anymore, right? It's gone. So what's going to happen to the level of auxin in the rest of the branch that's still on your plant? It's going to start going down. Okay, so the level is going to, you've just lopped it off, so the level is going to start going down. And as it goes down, it's going to pass through the perfect level for the lateral buds. Which lateral buds on the branch, you made your cut here, your branch was like this, you made your cut here. Which lateral bud is going to go through this perfect optimal level first? The ones just below the cut, yeah. Guess which ones start to grow first? The ones just below the cut. And it will become a terminal bud and knock the level back up here, which in turn will inhibit all the other lateral buds beneath it on that branch. Now, just a little note here. You see down up here, up at a 10, everything is inhibited. That's Agent Orange. It's exactly what Agent Orange is. Right? Some of you are probably too young to. Agent Orange, if you're as old as I am, will know. Cancer-causing drug used in the Vietnam War to defoliate the forests in Vietnam. And it did its job, both on the forest and on the people who were exposed to it. All right. So I'm watching my time here. We're good. We're good. Any questions on this? Because I have 2 other things to show you before I'm done. All right. So now, let's go back to your comment. Still, yes, I understand terminal buds do best at 7 and lateral do, but how can one do better at a 7 and the other one does better at a 4? When I say do better, they're more stimulated to grow. Okay, so let's go back, Tim, to our plant, go back to that. There we go. All right, so here you have the auxin. Auxin is a protein, and all proteins have very specific shapes to them. I have no idea what the shape of auxin is. I just made this up, okay? But it is a specific shape, okay? It's a molecule. Hormones are molecules, all right? It gets made in the terminal bud. In us, the growth hormone, let's just go by here. Must be big emergency going on. Ours is made in the pituitary at the base of the brain. It's kind of like our terminal bud, you know, sort of. All right. The auxin gets made and it gets circulated throughout the plant, including even down to the roots. It gets in here in all of the liquid around the cells. And notice the shape of this. And it comes here. Oh, there's a receptor. Well, it doesn't fit. Right? And so it comes over here to an O. Doesn't fit. And then it comes here. Ooh, I'm in. What does it do once it's in there? It goes over to the DNA of the plant, and genes inside in the DNA, to make it simple, almost every gene has a on-off switch, so to speak. And this can turn it on. So it turns on the trigger to go through mitosis, make more cells. More cells mean growth. That's your growth hormone. All right, so what is it that's different about lateral bud cell membranes compared to cell membranes of the cells of the terminal bud? And now comes your, what do you think?
There's a difference in the number of receptors.
It's the difference in the number of receptors on the cell membrane of the cells of a terminal bud compared to those of a lateral bud. One of them has a whole lot more, all right, which means it's way more responsive. One of them has less. It's less responsive. It's going to take more to get it to grow. So the ones that have more are actually your lateral buds, and the ones that have less are actually your terminal bud cells. Sometimes it takes a minute to figure that one out, but it's true, and it actually has been tested out to see if that is that true. Right down to root cells, they've got to grow too, right? They're using auxin, and it's made a long ways away, and so they have a different number of receptors. They're actually extremely receptive. They have a whole lot of them because so little auxin gets down to the roots. Okay, so that ends that, except we have one other thing, and that's when to prune. And then when we're going to divide up, take a few minutes and go around and actually try to prune. Any questions? Okay, I guarantee you the second most common question that the public will ask you, they're going to, when do you prune? Well, it's kind of cold out right now. I hate the cold myself, but the truth is for most plants, it's the best time to prune, in the middle of the winter. But let's look at, really plants fall into two categories. Although with our genetic engineering, genetically modified plants, we've played around with this rule a little bit here, like encore azaleas, all right? All right, let's take a plant, well, most of your plants, this was a beautiful Japanese maple, but obviously I didn't put it in water. Not that it would have made it anyway. All right, let's take most of your woody, your woody plants. I would say most of the things you see around here, not your azaleas or rhododendrons, all right? All right, so let's take them. All right, they're going to go dormant here soon. All right. For those kinds of plants, it's the best time to prune them once they're dormant. I would say probably not right now. If there's any little bit of time in the growth season, you don't want them to grow, especially if you've just done a heading back cut. It grows, puts a lot of energy into it, and bang, you get a frost. You just wasted all that energy. That stuff is gone, all right? So what about if it's flowers? What about flowers? Well, let's take crepe myrtle for an example, all right? The crepe myrtle right now does not have its buds set for the next time that it blooms, which is, it's not going to bloom until July. Okay. It does not have its flower buds set. Wait till the winter, when it's dormant, go back, prune it. You haven't cut off any blooms. The blooms haven't started yet. That's fine. It will begin to grow in April, May. No blooms, not buds on there. As it gets through, May, June, it's got its little buds. July, it blooms. All right. If you're going to prune it, wait until the next winter to prune it. So we say that those are blooming on new growth or this year's growth. Okay, this year, like, got to think 2026. Okay, it would be, it'll be growth in 2026, and so that then you want to prune it the winter before. What if somebody probably has an azalea? I don't know if you do or not. What if you have? Let's take an azalea as a good example. All right. Look around as we walk to a couple different places here, because I make sure like 1 minute left. That's it. All right. If A plant like an azalea, rhododendron, right now, November 1st, already has its buds for the next spring's bloom. That means it's going to bloom early in the spring because it's had a head start. The buds are already there now in November. You don't want to prune that now. You can. It doesn't hurt anything, but if you do, it will. You won't get any blooms next spring. So, when would you prune it? And the answer is right after it blooms. So it blooms in April. Wait till the blooms fall off in May. Bang. That's when you prune it. Early June. And then it will continue to grow, get new buds, and you'll have the nice flowers for a year later. So it's important to figure out which category the plant is in. Sometimes you got to Google it. You know, you might not be able to see if buds are there or not. I would suggest, yeah, you probably just Google it. There are lots of handouts. Extension office has, you can even go online. There's a whole calendar of when things bloom. And my time is up.
And the calendar on when things bloom is in Canvas, hooked under Pruning.
Okay,
Gave it to me last year.
yes. Okay. Yes, you just go to the VC site. You can get that calendar is like a valuable thing when people are asking you and you just cheat and look at it and see.